Jake had always been a quiet soul, preferring the hum of engines and the smell of motor oil to the chatter of the outside world. His garage, tucked into a small alley in Cleveland, Ohio, was modest. Walls lined with tools, spare tires stacked in corners, and a worn workbench that had seen better days. Each car that rolled in was a puzzle, a problem to solve. And in solving it, he found a strange, comforting rhythm. Life outside the garage felt uncertain, heavy with responsibilities and dreams deferred. But here, among the clatter of wrenches and gears, Jake felt in control. That afternoon, the sky had darkened to a steel grey, and rain fell in persistent sheets, washing over the city like a curtain. Jake was wiping grease from his hands when the bell above the garage door jingled softly. He looked up to see a small figure in a wheelchair struggling against the slick pavement. Her name was Emma, and the accident that had left her paralyzed had also left her family in financial turmoil. Her broken wheelchair made even moving a few feet an ordeal. She pushed forward with grim determination, her small hands gripping the wheels despite the rain. Jake didn't hesitate. He ran to the entrance, holding the door open and beckoning her inside. "Let's get you out of the rain," he said gently. Emma looked up, startled at first, but nodded silently. He guided her to a corner of the garage, pulling her broken wheelchair into the warm light under the overhead lamps. The chair's metal frame was bent, wheels misaligned, and the motor mechanism jammed with rust. Jake knelt beside it, examining every joint, screw, and wheel with the precision of someone who had repaired hundreds of machines, but rarely faced a problem quite like this one. Emma watched him work, her eyes wide and curious despite the lingering sadness in them. Jake spoke as he worked, explaining each step of the repair in a soft voice. "The screw holds the frame steady, see? And this part here helps the wheels turn smoothly. You have to be gentle, or it could break again." Emma listened intently, occasionally nodding, her face lighting up with understanding. It wasn't just the wheelchair she observed. It was the patience, the kindness, and the unspoken care Jake poured into every motion. For the first time since her accident, she felt hope. The rain outside grew heavier, hammering against the tin roof. But inside the garage, a sense of calm settled. Jake's hands moved skillfully, replacing worn-out parts, tightening loose bolts and oiling the wheels until they glided effortlessly. He hummed softly to himself, a tune he had made up long ago to pass the time in the garage. Emma followed his movements with fascination, her fingers tracing imaginary paths over the chair as he worked. Time seemed to stretch, measured only by the clicks of tools and the occasional clank of metal. Finally, after what seemed like hours but was only a careful afternoon, Jake stepped back. "Try it now," he said, his voice a mix of encouragement and curiosity. Emma gripped the wheels and pushed forward, feeling the smooth motion for the first time since the accident. Her face broke into a radiant smile, a rare and beautiful expression that lit up the dim garage. She laughed softly, a sound that resonated like music to Jake's ears. In that moment, he realized that this small act of service had created something far bigger than just a repaired wheelchair. Jake's heart swelled with an unexpected emotion. Fulfillment. Helping Emma hadn't been a chore, it had been a gift, a reminder of why he loved fixing things, why he stayed in a garage day after day, and why small acts of kindness mattered. He watched as she rolled in circles, testing the chair, her laughter mixing with the rhythmic patter of rain. Jake couldn't help but feel that life sometimes had a way of rewarding those who acted selflessly, even if the reward wasn't immediate or obvious. This was one of those rare, perfect moments. Emma's parents arrived shortly after, rushing in, soaked and worried. They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the transformation. Jake stood back, wiping his hands on his worn rag, smiling as he listened to their grateful words. There was no payment exchanged, no paperwork signed, only heartfelt gratitude and the silent acknowledgement of something profound. In the simplicity of helping, a connection had formed, a bond between strangers that would ripple forward in ways Jake could not yet imagine. It was a moment that quietly, irrevocably changed him, As the afternoon faded into evening, the rain subsided, leaving a glistening sheen over the city streets. Jake watched Emma leave, her wheelchair moving effortlessly, her spirit seemingly lighter than when she had arrived. For a long time, he stood by the garage door, reflecting on the day. He understood that life's purpose wasn't always measured in grand achievements or wealth, but in these small, intimate gestures that touched hearts and shifted lives. Today, he had been part of something bigger than himself, and the feeling was exhilarating. That night, Jake cleaned up his garage, but his mind kept returning to Emma's smile. He felt a strange anticipation, a sense that this simple act of kindness might lead to something more, a journey, perhaps, that neither he nor Emma could yet foresee. Little did he know, someone else had been watching, silently observing his patience, his care, and the gentle way he had treated a girl in need. And that someone would soon enter his life, bringing opportunities, challenges, and transformations that would forever alter the trajectory of his quiet, mechanic's existence. In the quiet of the night, Jake finally sat back, exhausted but happy, listening to the distant sounds of Cleveland settling into evening. The rain had stopped, leaving the air crisp and clean. He understood deep in his heart that helping others, even in the simplest of ways, could create ripples far beyond imagination. And as he turned off the garage lights and locked the door, he felt a quiet certainty. This day, this act, was only the beginning of something extraordinary. Olivia Carter had always believed that true wealth wasn't measured by money, but by the impact one could make in the lives of others. That afternoon, while visiting Cleveland to inspect one of her philanthropic projects, she happened to glance out the window of her sleek black car and notice a small mechanic's garage. A young girl in a wheelchair had just arrived, struggling to navigate the wet pavement, and a man, Jake, had knelt beside her without hesitation. Something about his calm demeanor, his patience, and the kindness in his actions drew her attention immediately. She decided she had to meet him. Olivia stepped inside the garage, the polished elegance of her attire contrasting sharply with the grease-stained floors and the earthy smell of oil and metal. Jake looked up, surprised at the sudden presence of someone so poised and confident. "Hello," Olivia said with a warm smile. "I couldn't help but notice how you helped that young girl. My name is Olivia Carter." Jake blinked, unsure of how to respond. Wealth and power were foreign to him. Humility and hard work defined his world, not philanthropy or elite circles. Still, something in her tone felt genuine. She watched as he explained to Emma how the wheelchair worked, the precision with which he tightened screws and replaced worn parts. Olivia admired not just his skill, but the respect and care he gave the girl. "It's rare," she said softly, "to see someone give so freely without expecting anything in return." Jake felt a mix of embarrassment and pride. Compliments were not something he was used to, especially from someone so influential. But her words planted a seed of curiosity. Who was this woman, and why was she so invested in his small act of kindness? Over the next few days, Olivia returned several times. She offered Jake resources he had never imagined, new tools for the garage, training manuals, and connections to suppliers who could provide high-quality parts at reduced prices. Jake was hesitant at first, worried that accepting help from a billionaire might somehow compromise his independence or pride. Olivia, however, assured him that she was interested in his talent, his heart, and his potential. She didn't want to take credit for his work. She wanted to help him grow. Slowly, Jake realized that opportunities like this didn't come often, and refusing might mean missing a chance to transform his life. Olivia also introduced Jake to the world of business strategies. He had always been an excellent mechanic, but marketing, management, and networking were alien concepts. Through patient mentorship, she taught him how to track finances, create customer loyalty, and expand operations without losing the personal touch that made his garage special. Jake absorbed everything eagerly, often staying late into the evening, scribbling notes and practicing what he had learned. The combination of his skill and her guidance began to show results almost immediately. Customers started arriving not just for repairs, but to hear about the story of the mechanic who had helped a paralyzed girl. Meanwhile, Olivia also encouraged Jake to share his story publicly. She arranged small interviews featuring him in local newspapers and community blogs. Initially uncomfortable in the spotlight, Jake learned to speak honestly and humbly about his experiences. People responded to his authenticity. Donations poured in to help fund community programs, and young, aspiring mechanics reached out, seeking mentorship. Jake realized that the ripple effect of one selfless act extended far beyond the garage, impacting not only his life, but the lives of countless others. This revelation left him awestruck. Kindness, he discovered, was a powerful currency. As the weeks turned into months, the bond between Jake and Olivia strengthened. It wasn't just mentorship, it was a partnership rooted in shared values. Olivia admired his humility, determination, and genuine love for helping others. Jake, in turn, respected her vision, generosity, and ability to see potential where others saw only ordinary effort. Together, they began planning programs to train underprivileged youth in mechanical skills, offering them opportunities Jake had never had. His garage became a hub of learning, hope, and empowerment, transforming from a small repair shop into a place of inspiration for the entire community. Emma continued to be a central figure in this transformation. Jake and Olivia worked together to design an adaptive program that allowed her to participate actively, even contributing ideas and encouraging other young people facing physical challenges. Emma's confidence grew as she learned to navigate the world with renewed independence, her bond with Jake deepening with every visit. Watching her progress reminded Jake why he had chosen this path of service and generosity in the first place. Olivia's support amplified his impact, showing him that true change required collaboration and vision. Yet, challenges emerged. Expanding the garage and training programs required careful planning and occasional sacrifices. Jake struggled with balancing his personal time, work responsibilities, and the demands of newfound recognition. Olivia guided him patiently through these hurdles, encouraging reflection, adaptability, and resilience. She reminded him that obstacles were part of any meaningful endeavor, and that staying true to one's principles was more important than immediate success. Through trial and error, Jake learned to navigate the complex world of opportunity without compromising his values, emerging stronger, wiser, and more confident in his purpose. The community began to notice Jake's evolution. Neighbors, friends, and even local officials recognized the garage as more than just a place to fix broken machines. It was now a symbol of compassion, perseverance, and empowerment. Articles highlighted the mechanic who had helped a young paralyzed girl and the billionaire who had believed in him. People were inspired by their story, understanding that life often rewards those who act selflessly. Jake felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that his daily efforts, amplified by Olivia's support, were creating real, lasting change in the lives of others. By the end of the year, Jake's garage had grown beyond his wildest dreams. He employed several young mechanics, many of whom had been guided by Emma's program. Community workshops brought people together, teaching not only technical skills, but also values of empathy, patience, and kindness. Jake reflected on how one rainy afternoon had changed everything. The simple act of helping Emma had set in motion a chain of events that reshaped his entire existence. Olivia's mentorship had unlocked doors he never imagined, proving that opportunity often arrives when kindness meets courage. Jake realized something profound. Life's rewards often come quietly, through the ripples created by seemingly small actions. Helping Emma had been a choice born of empathy, not ambition, but it had set him on a path toward transformation. Olivia had simply recognized the potential within him, nurturing it with guidance, resources, and trust. As he looked around his bustling garage, filled with eager young learners and grateful customers, Jake understood that kindness and integrity were far more powerful than wealth or fame. And in that understanding, he found not only success, but a deeper, lasting sense of purpose. The morning sun poured golden light across Cleveland, illuminating Jake's bustling garage. What had once been a small, quiet workshop had now become a hub of activity, filled with young mechanics eager to learn and machines being repaired with precision and care. Jake moved among them, offering guidance, encouragement, and occasional laughter. His hands, once solely focused on fixing machines, now also built confidence and hope in the people around him. Each day reminded him of how far he had come, and he often paused to reflect on the journey that had begun with a simple act of kindness toward Emma. Emma's visits became a regular part of Jake's life. She had grown stronger, more independent, and more confident with each passing week. Her wheelchair glided effortlessly across the polished floor of the garage, and she eagerly helped others with small tasks under Jake's careful supervision. Their bond had deepened beyond teacher and student. It was a relationship built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. Jake admired her courage and resilience, and Emma admired his patience, integrity, and unwavering commitment to helping others. Together, they celebrated every small victory, each success reinforcing the ripple effect of kindness. Olivia continued to play an instrumental role in Jake's growth. She invited him to national charity events, conferences, and business summits, where his story of compassion, skill, and dedication inspired thousands. Jake, initially nervous about stepping into such high-profile settings, gradually found his voice, speaking confidently about the lessons he had learned. Olivia's mentorship extended beyond professional advice. She nurtured his emotional intelligence, helping him connect with people, articulate his vision, and remain humble despite growing recognition. Every handshake and every speech reminded Jake that opportunity often follows kindness, and that generosity can open doors in unexpected ways. Word of Jake's work spread rapidly throughout Cleveland and beyond. Local news outlets featured the mechanic who had helped a paralyzed girl, emphasizing his integrity and skill. Community members brought friends and family to the garage, not only for repairs, but to witness the environment of respect, mentorship, and inspiration. Young people aspiring to become mechanics now saw a tangible example of success rooted in compassion, not greed. Jake's story became a testament to the power of empathy, demonstrating that even small acts, like repairing a wheelchair, could spark life-changing consequences for both the giver and the receiver. Emma, too, thrived in this environment. Inspired by Jake and Olivia, she began volunteering to assist with the training sessions, offering guidance to other children with disabilities. She became a symbol of hope, showing that limitations were not barriers to contribution or influence. Her confidence grew alongside her skills, and she became comfortable speaking to groups, sharing her story, and encouraging peers to pursue their dreams regardless of obstacles. Jake watched with pride as Emma blossomed, recognizing that her journey mirrored his own. Perseverance, courage, and the support of mentors could transform lives in ways neither of them had imagined. The garage itself evolved beyond a place of mechanical repair. Workshops were established to teach young people not only technical skills, but also life skills, teamwork, problem-solving, and empathy. Jake's leadership ensured that every participant felt valued and supported, fostering a sense of community and purpose. Olivia's financial backing and business acumen helped scale the programs efficiently, ensuring sustainability. Together, they had created a space where passion met opportunity, proving that impact wasn't just about money or fame. It was about nurturing potential, fostering growth, and cultivating an environment where kindness and dedication could flourish. As Jake's reputation grew, so did his responsibilities. He managed employees, coordinated training schedules, and oversaw community outreach programs. The pressure was significant, Yet he thrived on it, recognizing that responsibility was part of the privilege he had earned through dedication and kindness. Olivia remained a constant source of guidance, helping him navigate challenges without compromising his values. Each problem solved, and each success celebrated, reinforced Jake's belief that meaningful work required perseverance, integrity, and a willingness to put others first. In doing so, he created a life far richer than he had ever imagined. National recognition brought new opportunities. Jake participated in conferences, speaking about the power of empathy and mentorship, often alongside Olivia. Their story, mechanic, billionaire, and paralyzed young girl, captured the imagination of the public. Media coverage highlighted the transformative effect of simple acts of kindness, inspiring communities across the country to initiate similar programs. Jake became a symbol of hope, showing that greatness could emerge from ordinary beginnings when guided by compassion, patience, and generosity. His voice, once quiet and reserved, now carried far-reaching influence, and he embraced the responsibility with humility and dedication. Despite the fame and recognition, Jake remained grounded. He never lost sight of the day Emma first arrived at his garage, struggling with a broken wheelchair. That moment, simple yet profound, had set in motion a series of events that reshaped his life. He understood that every success he achieved was intertwined with kindness, mentorship, and collaboration. Jake's story became a lesson not only in entrepreneurship, but in human decency. The idea that helping others, even in small ways, could ultimately transform lives on a much larger scale than anyone could anticipate. Emma's growth mirrored Jake's journey. Once timid and unsure, she now spoke confidently to groups of children and adults, advocating for accessibility and empowerment. Her courage inspired countless others facing physical challenges, and she became a beacon of resilience in her community. Jake and Olivia watched her with pride, knowing that their combined support had created an environment in which she could flourish. Together, the three demonstrated that the impact of selflessness could ripple through communities, creating opportunities and changing perspectives in ways that were profound and enduring. As the sun set over Cleveland, casting a warm glow over the garage, Jake reflected on the journey he had traveled. From humble beginnings as a small-town mechanic, he had grown into a respected entrepreneur, community leader, and mentor, all because of a single act of kindness toward a young girl. Olivia's guidance, Emma's courage, and his own dedication had intertwined to create something extraordinary. He understood now more than ever that empathy, perseverance, and generosity could reshape lives, proving that even small gestures, when guided by love and integrity, could indeed ripple into something truly life-changing.